This is the backdrop outreach meeting. Comes every 2 weeks. We will start by going around and doing a little brief introduction of everyone here. To start off, I'm Robert Lang, bug builder on the internet from Altadena, California. I'll pass the intro over to Tim.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tim Erickson, St. Paul Tim on the internet, and I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And yeah, we have our first big snow of the year this year, so 6 inches a few days ago. And yeah, we got some interesting topics today. Let's go ahead to Martin.
I'm Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding on the internet, and I'm based in Northeast England. And I'll pass over to Greg.
I am Greg. I'm joining from Greece. No snow yet, but looking forward to it. Yeah, let's discuss about outreach.
Good. 1 second. I'm going to copy the all the links and stuff and put them in Zulip for our friends. And then you guys, your introductions were too short. You didn't give me time to finish my administrative stuff. Now I'm back. So let's do a couple of quick things first. Again, the agenda is it's been posted in Zulip. If anybody has help or is able to help sort of jot down some notes, I don't think we usually do a very good job at keeping the notes. If we could do a little better, that would be good. And specifically too, anything follow-up tasks, make sure that we jot those down. So I have some agenda items listed. I'm going to just do a couple of quick things first. First of all, Greg brought to our attention that since our last outreach meeting, we crossed 2,000 sites in usage stats, which is not a perfect number in terms of its accuracy. So we don't know exactly how many sites are out there, but it's still a benchmark. And I think it's a big one. I've been watching for that for a while, and they're excited to see us cross that threshold. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has anything to add on that other than just to draw attention to that fact. So I'll say one thing I would love to see, and I think Greg would agree, is better. Drupal has a nice graph of their usage. And I'm often wondering, like, what's our rate of acceleration? And that's hard to see from the raw numbers, and a nice graphic representation of those numbers would be great. So if anybody has the skills and the motivation to help us create sort of a graphical interface for those numbers, I think that would be really helpful. You want to say something? Go ahead.
I usually look at the numbers, both Drupal and Backdrop, on December each year, and what I like to compare to get an idea is compared to last year. So we've done 500 sites plus this year, which is exciting. So we reached 1,500 sites before that, and it took us some years. And having 500 sites within a year plus, it's like it gives you an idea of how much more activity has been. So yeah. At the same time, it's sad to see that Drupal is now consistently below 1 million. So
yeah, one way we could, I suppose, without a graphic interface, we could sort of measure the rate of acceleration. Would be to take like 500 site increments and see how long it took to do the first 500, the next 500, and see how quickly we get to the next 500. And hopefully it'll be faster than a year. So anyways, anybody else have anything to add on that topic?
And there is a charts module, so I don't.
Yeah.
So I don't mind having it has a couple of options.
Right.
Using Google Charts, I don't mind having it I can have a if we got. Have we got some? Do we have monthly figures or just annual figures or just
Well,
a total?
We have weekly figures, sort of totals, and
Yeah.
I believe we only display the last year's worth of data, but I'm pretty sure the data goes all the way back in the database.
Exactly.
And I actually have been interested in finding a way. That's another thing I'd like to see is more than just the last year's data.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to access the data further back. And actually, I'm not sure if that's all custom code displaying that, or if it's available to views. I think I went to look to see if it was in views so I could play with it myself, and I don't think it is. I think it's all custom generated.
I know it's
You know?
generated by the project module, but it
Right.
should be a view.
Well, I'll take a look again later. Martin, I think we're aware that there's some modules out that do it, but it's how to implement that module for this use case. And also, it's also a bit trickier because it's on backdrop.org and there's limited number of people that are set up to do that. But if that was something you thought you'd be interested in helping with,
I suppose if I suppose it's more. Let's have a look at the data, see what we can come up with in terms of a chart. It's not going to be as pretty as Drupal because we've only got one version. They've got that there shows the decline and rise of different versions, and whereas we just want to be showing the growth. As I say, I'd imagine I think the charts thing will sort of integrate with views and just need to present the data. But if we can somehow get the data, and then we can have a think about how it might be.
One thing that I was looking and I saw I find a bit annoying is the recent release usage, and I'll explain how I find that useful. It's that it doesn't have natural sorting in the version numbers, so you start with a 195. So there are modules again to do that. I don't think that we ported them, but so thanks. This is what we're talking about.
Right. Let's do a quick look at this. For anybody who's not familiar, it's /project/usage. I don't know of any links to this page actually on the website. They're probably buried somewhere, but I just know that the page exists, and if you Google it, you'll find it. And the data, you get weekly numbers that go back a year, and that's as far as they go back. We do have, and this is what Greg was just talking about, is that the sorting of the versions is, so we do have the data for versions. We could do a Drupal-like diagram, but what actually might be an interesting start would be to just do a data dump of all the data we have going all the way back, and to do a graph. I did this once about 1.5 years ago. I created a snapshot graph of the history using like in Excel or something, right? I just dumped the data into Excel and did a graph, but it was a one-time thing, and I don't even remember where it is anymore. So. Anyways, go ahead.
Just one thing, how I find useful the second table there that you were showing with the specific versions. Is that, and how I find it interesting is that both Drupal and Backdrop have this sort of like plague, I don't know what they call it, of neglected sites. Like you see that there's certain sites, and it's quite a big number. It's not as big, like most of the sites are being maintained, but the rest of them are just sort of like, they seem to be one-off, site builds which are not maintained after that, and they have insecure versions. And it's not only our problem; it seems to be global. So yeah, the section there that you have with 3-digit numbers in the middle, 120s and 119s. If you look there, they're the the maintained ones, and then you have some older ones which are unmaintained versions.
Right.
Hopefully, if we get automatic updates on, hopefully that will be improved. But let's see.
Right. Sure, this is a common. I mean, I think that with 3/4 of the sites, I think roughly are in the last 2 versions, which isn't bad. And there's always going to be numbers of them that just fall off. So, I mean, although an interesting thing about this, though, is that this 1.20.2 is the version with the bug in it that we just fixed. And we can see that, after 1 week, there are 239 sites were using it. After 2, that had jumped up to 600. If we could have gotten that second release out much faster, we could have saved 400 to 600 people from having to.
Well, you don't know if they're using flexible layouts. Most of them, like I know that the 62 that updated most likely do.
That doesn't, right. It doesn't mean that all of them were affected, but all of them eventually
Could be, yeah.
Eventually are having to do the 1.20.3. And if we had gotten that release out within a week, it would have only affected 239. The rest could have skipped. They could have skipped this level and just did 1 release. And now they're having to do 2. So that's sort of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, let's, I'm going to quit sharing my screen. I don't know. Has anybody, Martin, have you ever seen these stats before?
No, I haven't. No, as I say, I've looked around most of the links in the in the site, but a lot of things aren't.
Well, I think can't you also get to them through this page? No, you can't.
I possibly don't have quite those permissions yet. I think I've just got very basic.
Well, no, you shouldn't need any. This should all be totally public, available to anybody. So there shouldn't be any permission issues. It's just.
Let's have a look.
It's just they're not the links. The link to this page isn't published anywhere, real obvious that I know of, and I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing. I'm not worried about making it more public. To be honest, I don't think our numbers help us a lot.
Raw. No.
Right. Exactly. It's useful for me as a member of the project. I don't know that promoting them publicly would help us. But there is.
We could link them from each individual project. That's what Drupal does, because Drupal doesn't have a link somewhere with their user stats, as far as I know. But at the bottom of its project page, there's a release usage stats, which is actually a link to its individual usage, which we have the text there. We could just make it the active installs thing can be a.
Part of what I'm asking is there really any big benefit right now to making them more public? I think one might argue that the numbers aren't that impressive, and making them more public might not really be in a PR best interest. It's, again, useful information. I'm happy that it is public, but I'm just saying maybe we don't need to, maybe there's no benefit in promoting it. If we had 50,000 sites, I would feel more like that's something to brag about, but.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's one of the things that can be a reservation for some, where they think, well, how big is this? And so, and I was liaising with one person recently who I set up the original Drupal site, and then I'd when the charity was just starting out. And it's had a couple of different iterations of people, and they've been trying and failing to get Drupal 9 working, and suggested this and said, yeah, looks good. Got a question about, how long is it going to carry on? Are people committed? And that, and say, well, yeah, we can point to a growing number of the community and people being committed and people putting the effort in. So it's certainly promising, but as I say, the numbers don't look so rosy, and I think you wouldn't want to certainly wouldn't want to draw attention to the fact that you've got people who are on old releases.
Well, I don't feel bad about that, because that's really totally up to the users, and I think that's true of just about any software. I mean, if you took a look at Microsoft Windows, I'm betting that there's a shocking number of people that are, many versions behind, and that doesn't to me badly on Windows. It's just a reality of, but anyways, I know I hear your point. I'd like to move along because we have a couple of big topics, and I was hoping to skip over these kind of fairly quickly, but I'm just going to mention that we are about a little over a week behind on our newsletter, and I was hoping to get that out, and I haven't, but I'm still going to take a stab at it. So if anybody has things that they want to get in the newsletter, to let me know, and I'll try to get it. I think I'll plan to send it out early next week because I don't think I can't today, and I don't think Friday is the greatest day to send out a newsletter. I'm also just going to draw. Some of this stuff is saying it publicly to remind me. The Backdrop Live site. In theory, the Backdrop Live site is intended to be for any Backdrop event, but we had only used it for Backdrop Live until our upgrade day. And I tried to I did repurpose it for our upgrade day, but in doing so, I kind of screwed up. We already, in theory, had registration open for the next Backdrop Live, but I think that I went and hid all of that to focus. I don't even know. I haven't looked at it in the last couple of weeks. But the point is that our Backdrop Live site, I think, or event site, is in pretty bad shape, and it probably requires me to go in because I know everything that I did, and get it cleaned up. And feel free if anybody notices that and to bug me about it, because we really should get that presentable, and even better, get reopen. Well, technically, I think registrations are open. I'm just not sure if people are going to find the link right now. On a similar
the register now link or button that's there at the moment is underneath the upgrade your Drupal 7 site, the Backdrop thing.
Yeah. So that all needs to be clean. We got to get rid of all of that stuff, and this should be kind of a priority. So, if anybody could go in and do a little bit of cleanup, but probably it might need me or Jen to actually get the registration going again. Although maybe not, somebody else might figure it out. So, if somebody is inclined and has the time to help, that would be great. But I think I'll be able to do that soon.
Do we have processes documented for other stuff? Do we have that documented? If it was documented,
no.
Others. Yeah,
Not
next
for
time.
the Backdrop Live site. It's been a goal. First of all, it's been documenting it hasn't really made sense because it's been hacked together quickly with the intention of making it better. So we haven't really wanted to put a lot of time into documenting a really hacky process. And so what we need to do is stabilize it and then document it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think we're at a stage where we could be using. We're going to have to transition. In the past, we have an events calendar on backdrop.org, which is pretty limited. And if we're going to start listing events on the event site and using it in a better way, we're going to sort of need it, I think, to transition. But we're not quite there yet. But we do have, we've been advertising the Backdrop. Sarvashri's joining us. Welcome, Sarvashri. We have been promoting the office hours on the Backdrop events calendar. There is, I want to mention the Spanish, I don't know if Greg or some of you may not even be aware of this. About 2 weeks ago, we got a tweet from a group saying we're doing a Spanish speaking user group in 2 days. And I assume it was like a Zoom. Actually, it might have been using another technology. And I sent them a note saying, hey, if you guys want us to promote it, just let us know. And we really didn't get the information in time to promote their first one, but I sent them a note asking them how it went, and they said, that it was a slow start, mostly just, I think, a small group, and the first meeting was largely about sort of getting to know each other, but they planned another one for January. So I would like to promote that through our Twitter feed. Yep.
Do you know if it's the Latin America bit or Spanish in general? Because we had a couple of members in the community, like Robert Garrigos, if I remember the name, and then OPI that were really active in the Spanish, sort of Spain region. But that's.
Well,
actually, I haven't seen the OP in the issue queue in a while, so I might just ping them to say, hey, what's up?
Sure. They did not describe it geographically, they described it as language.
Okay.
But, you know, I'll let them sort of sort that out. We did have, the it's Jose Sanchez de la Pina. I don't know if anybody recognizes that name. Is the Twitter handle for the person who seems to be organizing it. And I have a feeling it's all, they Latina meetup. So Latina, does that refer to Latin America or does that refer to Spanish speaking? Does anybody know?
I would.
Okay, it doesn't, I don't think it really
Doesn't
matters.
matter. Yeah.
They gave me a very short snippet of text, a date, January 14th. And basically, you know, I was hoping for like a website or something, but it looks like they said to join their Telegram group. So, and they gave a link to their Telegram group. So I think in Telegram is kind of just like a group chat, sort of a group text program, isn't it? Anybody use Telegram?
I use it, yeah.
And isn't it just like a group chat?
It's, yeah, you can set up groups in it or you can do individually.
Okay,
But Telegram, there's a lot of activity on Telegram
right.
that's political and medical and all of that. It's very, very
And
widely used.
we just have one member of the Spanish community joining. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
I'm on it every day.
okay. Anyway, so I don't know that there's any action we need to take on this, but we were just talking about that.
Well,
You have a Telegram- have
sorry, go ahead,
Telegram
Sandra.
Name for it? The Telegram group name?
Just a second. I'll put it in Zulap.
Yeah, thanks, because it deserves, at least in the upcoming events on the main site, it deserves a link. Like if there's actually a date set, we could add it there for publicity sake.
Yes, they have a date, and that I do plan to add it to the events calendar for now. It would be great to get it on the event site, but the event site is kind of a mess right now.
Alejandro, did you join us because you were watching and you saw us mentioning the Spanish speaking group, or just randomly?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. Is there a Spanish speaking group?
Yeah, that's what we're just discussing. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's good. Are they? Do they have any online presence somewhere, or?
That's
So-
all.
That's what we're talking about, Alan. At this point, I think it's very much in its infancy. So as far as I know, they have nothing more than a Telegram group.
Do you have that
Yeah.
address?
Well, I'm about to share it. I'm going to put it in Zulap. And I'm not even sure if this address I'm sharing is useful. That's all I have.
Okay,
This,
put it also in this chat so I can grab it quicker.
Yep.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah,
So
that's all.
somebody.
Jinx.
Okay. Good. So if anybody wants to check that out, they had one small meeting in about two weeks ago, I think, and they're planning another one in January. So
Great to know.
okay.
Yeah, and it says 13 members, so that's nice.
Okay, we're halfway through our meeting and we haven't got to our two bigger topics. Let's start with the one that Martin's interested in. Martin just identified some opportunities for us to maybe do a little bit better on LinkedIn. And Martin, do you want to introduce what your ideas are? And we can figure out where to go next.
Yeah, I just thought we probably needed to have a slightly more outward facing presence on LinkedIn. It's where a lot of information is shared between businesses and suppliers, and generally pretty active. And if you're connected to someone, then and someone likes it, then you see something in your feed. So it might just be quite effective at raising awareness, and it could just have I wasn't planning anything particularly grand. It was more just let's replicate our announcements and see how it grows, and it may be that there is an opportunity to sort of write about particular functions or features, or and I wonder whether use cases might be a good thing where we'll kind of identify a use case that backdrops meeting really well and use that as something that can be shared. But I think it would be a case of let's get it established, registered as a company, and for that we need to have at least one employee, which it's fine being a voluntary employee. We'll start with just announcements and see how it grows really, and get people who are members of the community who are on LinkedIn to follow it, and even if it's just liking posts, it will start to build up awareness.
Sure.
Just about, I like the idea. Just about the time when you suggested that in Zulip, I think it was a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
I randomly happened to be checking one of my colleagues' LinkedIn profile because they posted something, and I did see that they have a Drupal project company listed, and that they've been there, they've been working there. That's as an employee for 17 years, and the description below says long-time open source contributor as a speaker, blah blah blah, whatever. So I think it's good, at least for the usual suspects like in the room and the Zulip channel, to sort of like add ourselves there from the date we started joining. And yeah.
But let me just say, for context, I think Martin is again suggesting that we do a business page, right, which are sort of or a company page or organization page.
Yeah.
We don't currently have that. There is a group a closed private group, which is not active and hasn't been for many years. Every once in a while, somebody like myself might jump in there and post an announcement about Backdrop Live, but I'm talking like every 18 months, maybe one post. And as Martin has pointed out, that's not very public facing and maybe not even that useful. Although, if there ever got to be enough people on LinkedIn interested, I know that there are some active Drupal groups in LinkedIn. I believe there are. I have occasionally seen activity there, but they have a much huger base to draw from than we do. So, so the goal would be to just get an organizational page going, and obviously just creating the page is the easy part, right? Creating content for it, well, we're having a hard time creating content for our own page, so maybe the opportunity to leverage that would motivate us a little more. I don't know.
I think we don't want to be too ambitious to start with, and if we start by just saying, well, we've got an announcement to make, we're making it on the website, let's also we're making it on the other social media, let's also make it on LinkedIn. I don't want to be too ambitious. I think, but even just that, and if we have people who are on LinkedIn and who follow it and can like the posts, that just starts to increase our reach of people who've heard of us.
Sure. Well, let me put this in the context of our broader social media too, for those who aren't aware. We're most active on Twitter, and I do most of the tweeting. Jen also occasionally does some tweeting, but probably 90% of it is coming from me. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook, an organization page, and it gets. I've been doing a little bit more there lately, but it's still pretty sparse. Like for the last month, maybe once a week, I've got something, whereas it used to be every couple of months we would do something. There are a couple of other people, including Jan and Luke, who have access to that page. So when we do have something like Backdrop Live, we try to hit all the social media channels, and I can post as Backdrop on Twitter and Facebook, but I can't on LinkedIn. So usually on LinkedIn, I just post as myself. So if we had a page, we could at least post as an organization, which would be probably a big improvement. So I would assume anybody can just create that group, can't they, Martin?
Yeah, you just need to be able to put something as some form of role that you've got, and then basically the first person do that can kind of create it. So I think now I'm officially a contrib maintainer. I could do that. I could probably do that now if we're happy, and then add whoever wants to be a content admin, and that way people can easily post as Backdrop, whoever feels need. And I don't mind sort of taking on, if we've got announcements, I can take responsibility for pushing those out. And I think if we start getting conversations around it, then that might steer to say, actually, there is a demand for more content. But at the very least, we can raise awareness, and I think that's half of the issue, that a lot of people haven't heard about it, and so it's just chipping away at that awareness.
Sure. That's great. I think we should go ahead and do it. I don't know that there's any formal decision that needs to be made. In the past, this kind of thing, it largely just needs somebody with some initiative. And I mean, it's good to check in with this group first before you set up a page. But if you are able to and willing, Martin, I think it would be great if you went ahead and set it up, and then just be sure to add like myself and well, I don't know if Greg uses LinkedIn enough that you would want to be added. Jen, probably we should add her as admin. So just make sure there's a couple of us that can add it. And then you should feel free to go ahead and post announcements or whatever as you see them. And it would be great to split that responsibility up, so I can focus on Twitter and you can focus on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to be more involved in our Facebook presence, let us know. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and do that then. I think the LinkedIn group, I think we can kind of just ignore for now, and but if there's ever any interest or people start to post there, then maybe we think more about it. But I wouldn't want to try to reinvigorate that unless we have the energy to really.
No, I mean, if we can get conversations happening on LinkedIn from the company posts, whether we post simply announcements or we post articles, and we get discussions happening on that, that's going to be much better for reach than anything happening in a private group. And it's unlikely that any of the kind of things that you might get people discussing are going to be of a private nature anyway. It's going to be about, will it work for this? Will it work for that?
Right. I'll just say that I don't think the private, well, I'm not quite sure how LinkedIn groups go if they have to be sort of private. I don't think the purpose is to make it. I mean, I just assumed that was kind of the way LinkedIn did it, was that you had to join the group. But the advantage of a group is that if you're somebody coming to Backdrop that's interested in Backdrop, and you don't know anybody else on LinkedIn that does Backdrop, just posting a question in your feed might not reach anybody that knows Backdrop, right? So if there's a group, you can go to the LinkedIn group and know that you're reaching other Backdrop people.
Yeah.
But but people aren't doing that right now, so I don't think we should worry about it. Although I think it wouldn't hurt if we posted something every 3 or 4 months, just so that it shows that, you know, the community's not completely dead. Otherwise, it looks like a ghost town, and that's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a few months ago, I made a request to join the group, and I think it's still pending.
Well, we should see if we could. I don't know why we need to approve members. You'd think people could just join.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possibly just the config of the group. It's set up so you have to be approved. Whereas if people if people want to if people are wanting to find someone, which I think the purpose of it says, wanting to find someone who can help, they don't want to wait for approval. They want to click join and be able to get in almost instantly, which I think you can set up groups so that they can do that.
Well, Martin, let's bring this up again when Jen is around, because she's the one of the two administrators. The other one is not active in the community anymore. So, okay, but we got one more agenda item. Let's move on to that. So the last agenda item was Diane is unfortunately not here, but she raised a proposal with me, and it was something that emerged out of discussions at the last Backdrop Live. And I don't think we're anywhere close to taking any major actions on this yet, but we're really just looking for feedback. And one of the things that came up in the last Backdrop Live was that a lot of contrib modules aren't, or especially ones that haven't been released yet but are in development, are not very discoverable. And an example of this are things like organic groups, which a lot of work has been done on the organic groups module, but it's not enough to have a release yet, which means that if you were evaluating Backdrop and you came from Drupal and you went to the project page and you searched for organic groups, you would find nothing. And you might logically assume, well, no work has been done on organic groups. And you might say, well, I need organic groups, and if nothing's been done, I'm going to not come to Backdrop. In fact, a lot of work has been done, and as far as I know, it might even be partially workable. Actually, Joseph, you're not. Who's the one doing organic? Is that? I don't think that was you. I think it was Laren.
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, but you have a similar use case, a situation with display suites, where people come looking for display suites and there's no official release, but you have done a lot of work on that. And my understanding is that it may be in a usable state already, but people don't know that. So that's just the one use case. I think the other situation that Diane was trying to address was if you have questions about a module, like a specific contrib module. Right now, where do you take those? And some people aren't that comfortable. The only real place to go is GitHub, right? There's a GitHub issue queue, but the GitHub issue queue isn't really that inviting to somebody that's like a new evaluator that just wants to ask about a module. You know, the GitHub issue queue is like where work is getting done on the module. And if you're just sort of casually exploring the community, you might not feel comfortable jumping into the issue queue to ask a simple basic question. You could go to the forum, but there's no dedicated place on the forum for that. So that might be a little bit weird. And on backdrop.org, there's no interactive element to that there. You know, all you can do is get information about modules. You can't ask questions. So Diane proposed that we use the forum, and basically, if I understand her proposal right, it was like that we would have a page on the forum for every contrib module available, just sort of automatically, and that that would be a place. And her proposal was that it'd be more than just a discussion, that you could, that page would also provide some of the information that you get on backdrop.org right now. Now, I think there are other options to sort of solving these combined problems. Like we could add comments to the project pages on backdrop.org, which might be a smaller step forward, but it's also very different. But that would, create the kind of opportunity that she's talking about, Whether or not it's a good idea, I don't know. We could just more aggressively push people towards GitHub, although I definitely see the problems with that. We could, another option I suppose might be to not automatically create forum topics for all the modules, but to provide a better opportunity to talk about forum contrib modules on the forum. I don't know. I just like to be quiet now and see if anybody, if this idea is resonating with anybody, and or if they have other ideas about solving the kinds of problems we just talked about. Anyone?
Sorry, I wanted to ask something relevant. Not relevant, but
Okay.
Savastri, you're muted.
I can just mention that I went to the Telegram group and it seems to be an active group. They have postings every day or two. Also, the Latina group has posted there that they have a Zoom meeting, HD Zoom meeting. So there seems to be some interest and activity there.
Yeah, I'm curious. We have a German-speaking group, and I'm not sure. And these guys are active in Zulip, so I'm not sure if they have any other means of meeting. I'm sure they're using Zoom or some other like face-to-face thing. But curious why the Latin group went with another app instead of the official Zulip thing. Of course, they're free to do whatever sort of like suits them best. But yeah.
Well, the Latina group is different from this group that in Telegram.
Okay.
But the Latina group made a posting there that they have a group and it's a lively group and inviting people to share both ways, I guess.
Okay, so maybe that's why they're there, is that they're a subgroup of an already existing group. So it makes sense to sort of stay where they are. We'd have to find out more about that. But to be honest, right now, I feel like I just want to support whatever they're doing and not try to redirect them, right? It's like if they think this is the right tool, let's just give them whatever support we can.
There's also a group in Bogota, Lima, Quito, Panama. So there's some posts there about other groups that's worth looking at, I suppose.
Sure. Okay. I'm not hearing a lot of feedback on do we need a better, so how about if I ask the question this way? Do other people share the concern or the idea that we just need a better way for people for beginners to sort of be able to ask questions or learn about modules? Is that a real problem?
I think it is, but there's two mingled issues there.
Right.
So for modules that have a release and therefore have made it to b.org, I think we can add to that page, to the b.org page, in that right sidebar. You know, there's I think the current wording is view issues, propose or something, and then a link for general discussion that takes you to the forum. And the forum is a perfect place for that, and the link will take you there. And I think that would mostly address that issue. But the issue with organic groups is different because it doesn't have a presence. And there's even there's an issue, I've forgotten the number, but there's an issue where suggested that even for non-released things in the GitHub contrib, that we somehow post it on b.org as something in progress. So that takes it back. There's a logistical problem of how do we work with GitHub Actions to make that happen, both for newly created contrib and also all the old existing ones. And that seems like a separate issue to deal with.
I think you're right, Robert. I probably shouldn't have mingled them. I think that both sort of both discussions started from a similar place, but they're kind of two different discussions. So we should probably focus on the discussion one right now, which is how to, Robert, with your idea about just linking to the forum, do you think So we could just link to the forum in general. We could create a new sort of category called contrib, and then just, maybe that would be helpful. Or we could go all the way where we actually create a topic for every module. I don't know, I can see benefits to any of them. The last one, though, we run the risk of having, 550 empty topics and only 25 with any discussion. And I don't know if that's a good thing. So.
Can you hide the
And
ones that
remember,
you're-
sorry. We also
Okay, I'll go.
we already have a mechanism for additional information that people are encouraged to contribute to the wiki page on GitHub. And there's the problem that the vast majority of them are empty. And we just recently changed the sidebar link that took you to the wiki page, because for most projects, people would click on the link to go there and it would throw you into the generic GitHub page. And then they'd go, what's this, what happened?
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it'd be good to have a list of the modules that are in progress, just a list of them, and have it pinned at the top of some page, either at the forum or whatever, and then the discussion group under that. So that would collect everything together, it's pinned and kept current, and then there could be discussion underneath.
Okay.
Anyway, I have a meeting at 4, so I have to run off.
I'm not sure how
Well-
we could automate that. There might be some custom code required to grab new projects and sync them, or figure out if they have a release and then they get out of this list. The other sort of like manual way is that when people join the contrib group, we have a set of instructions on what to do next, how you transfer your projects and so on. We could add a bullet point there that says, go to the forum, create a new thread, and watch it from time to time. Even if it is, hey guys, I'm not watching this thread. If you need to ping me, try to reach me on GitHub or Zulip, still, it's...
Yeah, that's good. I have to go. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Subhashri. I hear you. That's all making me even more nervous that we're ending up just sending people to empty spaces. As somebody who's done online community management before, I'm really nervous about the idea of creating 1,000 or 600. We have 600 projects. Of creating 600 topics without any content. I'd be more inclined to do what Robert's talking about, which is to direct people to the forum, and maybe to have a section of the forum that's specifically for contrib, where our goal would be to get discussions about all the relevant topics there, but we add them as we need them, right? We don't try to add them all right away. So that as people have questions, they feel free to use that forum. And it might be more inviting than our current situation, where it's just, I'm going to share my screen and look at the forum again quickly, just so we can. Go ahead. Yep.
The front page of the forum is basically a view. So if there's topics with 0 comments or threads with 0 topics, we could hide them. So maybe that could alleviate the 0 thing, or move them to the sort of move it to the.
Yeah, for those who maybe aren't familiar, really quickly, so the way the forum works is we have about 8 categories. Okay. Most of the discussion is all in the top one, how to and troubleshooting. We can see 593 topics there. The next closest one is requests and feedback. I actually have a concern right now that anything that isn't in the top one gets lost. But I think we could add like a contrib section to the front page if we thought that would be helpful. And that might actually turn out to be a really popular section. So we wouldn't be showing individual modules on the front page. What I envision is we would open up, the contrib section, and here's where you would see a topic for each contrib module. If we went that route, that's how I think that would happen.
Yeah, but then a single topic would be used for anything that relates to that. Like you won't be able to select an accepted answer like you see there because that would
Right.
be an endless
Sure.
thread.
Yeah, but you know, to like another option would be to create a section for every contrib module, but that just feels way overkill. We're not anywhere close to that, I think.
Joseph, you were about to
Would
say
it-
something?
Two things. First one would be, I think we should call it modules or themes instead of
Okay.
contrib, because contrib's not a normal English word.
I agree.
And then the second one is, would it be better to make it easier to find the GitHub repos rather than creating hundreds of empty topics?
Well, one, I think we're already skeptical of the creating hundreds of empty topics. Would it be? I personally am very torn when these topics come up between my desire. So we continually run into the problem of newcomers who feel uncomfortable with GitHub. And we have really two choices when we run into that problem. One of which is how do we make them more comfortable with GitHub? The other is how do we provide them alternatives to GitHub? And I see good arguments for both. And to be honest, there's a part of me that really wants to lean towards trying to make people feel more comfortable using GitHub. But there's this other part which says that's just riskier and dangerous because some people just won't. They reject that. And now this is not a large number of people, I don't think, but it could be, if we were ever to see a big surge of new people coming into Backdrop, a lot of them might be people who are just unfamiliar with GitHub and are a little bit intimidated by it. So the question is then, should we provide them with an alternative?
Right.
Yeah, but I see both arguments, and I mean eventually we'd like to get these people into GitHub because they can do more things there. But do we want to make that a requirement for them to ask a question?
There's a class of questions that probably don't fit GitHub, or at least as a user, I would perceive it's not an issue. Issues are, it's like, will this module do the thing that I want done? And I would feel uncomfortable going to that module's page and raising that as an issue. But there needs to be a place to ask that question. And so maybe that's where the forum could play that role.
Yeah, I feel the forum and the chat, the Zulip chat are best places for those sort of questions.
I mean, another option, and we need to wrap up, it's time for the next meeting. Another option, of course, would be that there is, as Greg, I think you pointed out a number of times, the option to add forums to GitHub projects. So that would create a better spot within GitHub, but it doesn't solve the problem of people that are just uncomfortable with GitHub. Although it might make them more comfortable, right? It might feel more inviting to join GitHub and join a forum than it would be to join.
I think GitHub recently added a new discussions feature.
Discussions, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
It shows up as another tab next to issues.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Okay.
I might have said it wrong, but yeah. That might be worth looking at a little closer before we take any actions, and maybe bouncing that off some people and seeing if it would make them more comfortable posting questions in GitHub if they had that kind of an option instead of opening an issue.
Right. If I may say quickly, I'm just looking at the modules portal, and if I was someone who's not familiar with GitHub, it would be helpful to know that to have a link in this portal that takes me to the forum, because there are different sites. I mean, the one is forums.backdropcms.org, and this is it's not so clear that there's a place. If I come to the weight, for example, I'm looking at the weight module right now on the portal. None of the links above, well, there's one that says support, it says backdraw support, but I mean, adding a link at the bottom of the description of the module saying, if you have questions, go to the forum. I think that would be easy to do, and it would be a good first step, perhaps.
I'm leaning that way too, as a first step, but by no means the end of the discussion. Is to just maybe create a section on the forum for modules and themes, and direct people there, have them open their own topic, not try to pre-populate it initially, and just see if how that goes, and then decide what to do next.
One thought just on that is, could we use like the module data as a kind of taxonomy within the forums?
Maybe. I think there would be ways of doing that, but it would probably require a little bit of work, and something maybe worth exploring would be like, maybe we could just sort of help people, like when they're creating, if I understand you right, Martin, what I think you might be suggesting is, like, if I went to create a topic within this module section, is that I would be able to like pick a drop-down list and pick from any of the existing modules. And that way we could also really easily group related questions.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot, but it would take a little extra work.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up, end our meeting so that the next meeting can get started. Nate looks like he's working really hard on the agenda. Hi, Nate.
Hey.
Okay, bye, everybody.